Hi, sixth grade. Welcome back from spring break. Today we're going to be talking about character types. This week we are starting A Wrinkle in Time. I know some of you may have this before we start the book in class. So this is something we're going to be talking about more as we get started with this book. Today we're going to be talking about character types going beyond main or supporting. When I would like you to write this down in your notes. So pause at any time and here we go. So today we're going to be talking about round or flat characters, static or dynamic characters, and then stock characters. And then I have nice photos with characters with creepy eyeballs apparently in there. Here we go. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today are round or flat characters. So this is just being more specific about what the role is of the character in the story. So yes, we can say we know the difference between like Charlotte is more of a main character within True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle. And thinking about Captain Jaggery is an important part as well. But some of the, Fisk and Barlow, they would be more supporting characters. But I want to look further into that. What specifically, how do they impact the story and how would I identify them? So first we're going to talk about a round character. A round character has many complex characteristics. So they change throughout the story and they're affected by events in the plot. They probably seem very real to you and relatable. I'm not going to give a lot of examples because I want you to identify in the Padlet based on some of the novels that we have read as a class over the last couple of years, some characters that stand out to you. When I think, I'm going to give like Disney examples here. So if we think of Finding Nemo, I would say Nemo is a round character as well as Marlin. So you get to know them on a deeper level. So you see those characteristics. You see how Marlin gains confidence as he continues to go through the story, and the events and the plot help him continue to grow through that story. So it's very relatable, and you can think of that not necessarily by those specific events in that movie, but just different events maybe in your life that you evolve and change. And so I'd say round characters are very similar to that. Then we have, let's see here, flat characters. So a flat character has one or two basic characteristics. So we don't really know them as well. Like if we're thinking about sitting next to them and talking with them, I would say a round character would be somebody a little bit more relatable. But a flat character, you maybe would say one or two characteristics about them. Like they are kind and they're witty, or they are smart. They don't really change a lot in the story. They're pretty consistent. The events in the story aren't necessarily going to affect them majorly or change them as a person. They're usually a supporting character, and they can play an important role in helping the plot along. Okay. When we are looking at Finding Nemo, thinking about maybe some of the characters in the tank with Nemo, I'm trying to think of the one that the fish with the scar on his face. I can't think of his name right now, but any of those characters within that are flat characters. We could probably describe them in a couple different characteristic traits, but they don't necessarily evolve and change with the story, but they help Nemo continue to evolve and change. And then we have static or dynamic characters. So a static is another term for flat. So they do not show growth or change throughout the story. They remain pretty consistent. And if you think of the word static means like the same or not moving, like a static car, we're not moving. Dynamic is another term for round. So more specifically, they will change and evolve. Okay, so that when we talk about Marlin in Finding Nemo, he is a round, dynamic character. He evolves and changes. And then the last character trait we're going to talk about here, or type, is a stock character. And a stock character is usually a minor character and they fulfill a stereotype. So a stereotype would be when you think of people that are like gothic, you think of somebody that would be wearing all black and into certain types of music, and that would be a stereotype that would be fulfilled with somebody who were dressed like that. Or even thinking about like in movies like jocks, like people that are really into sports and that's all they talk about and they wear their sports stuff and maybe their cleats. Okay, fulfilling a stereotype within that. When we look at, it says fulfill a stereotype, won't stray from the stereotype. So maybe a clown, they have an example here. The clown is super creepy, and that might fulfill a stereotype. Or the bully is going to be way bigger and meaner than the other character. We'll definitely talk more about this, and it'll be more obvious in A Wrinkle in Time who those stock characters are and fulfilling that. I think a lot of times too, stock characters, like if you think of antagonists or the bad guy in the story, a lot of times they will fulfill that stereotype. Thinking about like the Little Mermaid or any really Disney movie, especially some of the older ones, those antagonists really fulfill that stock character or that antagonist negative stereotype. And sometimes you'll also see in stories too, like where a character will be, I'm trying to think of how to describe it, like they will act a certain way, like really silly and really goofy and completely unaware, and they might fulfill a stereotype of being like aloof. So you'll see. We'll talk more about this. So definitely think through characters that we have read in our stories and maybe if they would be considered a stock character. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go check out the Padlet, and on the Padlet, we will be kind of looking at those stories that we've read in the last 2 years and seeing if you can identify some of these types of characters. Questions? We'll talk in class.